We're seeing some nice footwork out there as the ball makes its way down the field. But hold on. Pillar 2 post, out of nowhere. Amazing! Goal!
But should I start off? So, Abdul Habib, people know me as Abs. So I'd say I'll start where I'm at the moment is I am coaching at Millwall FC, assistant leading for the under 12s. Before that, I was involved. I first got involved in football with the Watford Community Trust whilst I was uni. Then eventually got to do a couple of development centres. And when I moved back to my permanent residential area, which is in Bromley, South East London, got involved with Bromley FC, and then got my first step in football, proper taste, I'd say, in step 6, working with Le Shaman, Punjab United Gravesend, which I was fortunate enough to be in the management team and win the league with them. Shortly after, I helped them set up their under 18s, left, went to Welling Town, and then eventually got myself a little bit into scouting, which I'm looking more into and more interested in with Aldershot Town with Anwar. And that's about me.
Good man. I'll go next, I guess. I'm Imrul Gazi, manager at Sporting Bengal over in East London. Got the job nearly I'm into my 5th season next year, I think. Next season will be my 5th season. Been involved got involved with Sporting when I first moved down here to London about 9-10 years back. Started at the community project, which was then Sporting Bengal Academy, under 10s team, and really just been involved ever since. And then Anwar, we've had Mamun Chowdhury was involved for many years, good 5 to 6 years, just credit to him. And then Anwar Uddin, you just mentioned him from Aldershot, ex-Dagenham Redbridge, he took over for a season. And that's when I kind of got seriously involved with the senior team. Got to know the ins and outs. I came on board as the secretary, still doing the kids side of things. And then Anwar left, and then I was given the opportunity to take over the senior team. And here I am, still 5 seasons on, still trying to do my bit. And there you have it.
Yeah, as you guys know, obviously, who I am. Liton Zaman, currently working at West Ham United Academy. Been at the clubs for about 15 years now. Actually started, they had the Asians in football at the foundation. So started off with doing that and then gradually climbing the ladder, really. Do a lot of stuff internationally for the academy in terms of player ID and so on. Worked with various grassroots clubs in the local area. Worked for the FA as a coach mentor for about 3 years. And also got my own soccer school. Also first team coach for Punjab FA. Coaching for about 15 years or more, I think I'll say. Also played for Sporting, so I know Imrul quite well, know Abs quite well. So yeah, it's a family affair.
That's right. So where to now, boys? You guys are the more experienced ones. We're talking about, I think, what is it? We're talking about agents.
Yeah, I think, is it in terms of any difficulties that we faced or our day-to-day involvement?
Yeah, so day-to-day involvement, I'd say the first question we should get at is, what are the barriers do you feel or have you felt in your coaching journey? So you guys have got a lot more years on me. I'd still say I'm very young in my journey. So have you felt, or every time in your coaching period where you felt you've been discriminated purely because of your name or your race?
I'll go first, Imrul. In terms of discrimination, I don't think I've faced any discrimination, if I'm honest. I think the challenges that we face day to day is trying to create that training culture. Also, they know they're a good player. Can they turn up to training and love training? I think that's the most difficult thing I've experienced. Trying to create a learning environment. Also trying to get the players to buy into like an individual development plan, or looking over clips of their previous games or training and so on. So in terms of player development, I think that's probably challenges I've faced. Also going from, so during the daytime, I'll take the for West Ham's Foundation's college team. So obviously the talent and so on, it varies. So there's a mix of abilities and so on, and trying to get them to understand your philosophy and so on. It might not mean we're winning at all time, but my job, I feel like with them, is to try and develop them in terms of being a player, and secondly, trying to get them to learn some new life skills, trying to make them a better person in society. So challenges is for them buying into what you're trying to do or what you're trying to show and teach them. So the learning aspect of it is the most challenging bit, I think, from my experience.
Yeah, great point. I think I'd probably echo most of that. From my perspective, it's slightly different to what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. You're very much coaches. You're about, Abs and Abs is now going down the scouting route, looking at the technical side of things and the player development and identification. Whereas mine is pretty much day-to-day. Management is at any level. It's possibly more about man management than it is about having kind of being a great coach, especially at grassroots level and non-league in particular. I find this is where one thing I've learned over the last maybe 5 to 8 years, and this is what I kind of really picked up from Anwar and when he first took over at Sporting Bengal, was just having the right people in and around the setup, the management team, that can add different aspects. And most of you will probably know, I know Liton knows him, Abs, but I'm not sure whether you know my first team coach, Arash Mia, who was involved.
I've seen him about, yeah.
Yeah, so he was in, and he loves coaching, absolutely loves it. He's involved at Punjab FA as well. Was many years involved at MK Dons and alongside his day 9-to-5 job. So when I first got the job at Sporting Bengal, one of the first things I did was bring him on board, because from a technical perspective, people like yourselves as coaches, like Lits is getting on, you need that technical aspect. Like I said, I know what my strengths are, I know what my limitations are. And I've, in terms of qualifications, I'm a level 2, but I don't have aspirations to go on to do a UEFA B or a pro license or anything like that. From my perspective, I think Sporting Bengal and non-league, in terms of where I am right now at this level, possibly, maybe if the opportunity was to come, maybe 1 or 2 more. But I love what I'm doing. For me, it's all about giving opportunities. I think the key thing for me is about opportunities. Where can we give opportunities? And we talk about, the question you asked at the beginning was about discrimination. If anything, from my perspective, this is an example of positive discrimination. Because if it wasn't for a club like Sporting Bengal, I don't think me or any other Asian manager that within the East London setup or within the community would be given an opportunity to manage at a club at Step 5, a club that plays in the FA Cup, that has so much history, and is possibly one of the biggest Asian football clubs here amongst the handful in the UK. To have that privilege, and it is a privilege, because the opportunities I've had and the people I've met through this has been phenomenal. And the likes of you guys, I'm sat here speaking to you now. With these conversations go on week in, week out. I'm glad you guys probably do it 4 or 5 times a day. But it's massive, and all the way I look at it, my job is all about giving local kids, talented local kids, the opportunity and the platform to showcase their talents. But what Lit said, for me, what I've learned over the last 5 years, is talent isn't enough. Even at this level, at non-league, Saturday, Step 5 level, the lack of commitment from our kids, I'll say it, from Asian kids, about not wanting to train, it's a joke. And people ask why. I think really you used to come and watch, come to non-league level. Abd, I'm sure you probably know. You probably seen 1 or 2 when you were at Punjab. You probably had it. I speak to Chippy all the time, and he tells me some of the stories. So they're no different to what I face at Sporting Bengal. You get all the you get all the doubters and all these idiots in the community who claim, oh, you're not giving them the opportunity. I want to give every Asian kid the opportunity, but you've got to come training. Why are you any different? You can't expect to come to one training session and then expect to be playing the next 4 or 5 games. And it's just not, for me, that's the biggest obstacle. We want to give opportunity.
Sorry, Imrul, just to go back onto that, do you find it quite challenging to create a training culture when these players think they're good, but you want them to obviously feel good, but to love to train as well?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think this season, I really, really kind of put my foot down on it. And we had a lot of changes at the club where I've had a few kind of discussions with 1 or 2 players, and good players have left the club because we've now set in the last 6 months. It's a shame we finished when we did, because we got to a stage where we were training every week regardless, and we had really good numbers. And even to the stage where I feel ashamed to say it, but I'll say it. Where we were getting maybe 20% of the first team players turning up, we got to the stage where 60-70% of first team players were coming to training, and they were beginning to enjoy it, and they could start seeing the rewards of it. And I want to be in a position where I'm getting, we were getting 30, 40 kids coming to training on a Tuesday night, of which, like I say, 60%, the back end, last few weeks of training were first team players. And that's what we want to do. We want to be in a position where they come to training, firstly, they enjoy it, secondly, they want to be there, and thirdly, is that they're taking something away from every session. And for me, it's really important. If the likes of Arosh is coming all the way from Milton Keynes to run a session, they've got to respect him for the time that we're all giving. And that is the biggest problem I find within our community, is that attitude.
I think the biggest challenge for you, is you're more into like results as well, like where you guys are playing, it's results. So you don't really have a lot of emphasis into a lot of development, because you can't really experience in terms of like formation or tactical or technical details, because you need the 3 points at the end of the day for you to be in a job and where the club needs to be. It's difficult for you, because we're obviously in the game of developing and working with players where we can look at different formations, look at different technical and tactical ability, and even if it's not going right, we'll still got time to fix it and so on, where you're in a different ball game where you need the 3 points at the end of the day. Or if it's a cup competition.
I genuinely have one training session, and maybe the player might come on. If I get a new player who looks half decent in training, he might come onto the pitch and he's got half an hour. And I'm not joking, I've seen so many good players out there, apparently, that look amazing on a training session or on a Sunday. They come on a Saturday onto the pitch, half an hour, and it's like they've never kicked a football. Like Lits said, from my perspective, I've got it's a results based. I can only be so kind of give them the opportunity to a level, because ultimately I've got to think about myself. I've got to think about the club. We can't be getting relegated from this division. So
that's why it's a bigger thing for them to turn up to training, isn't it? That's the biggest thing for them to come training at the end of the day. That's where you can see.
That's the thing, and I'm not sure how and it's not just here. It's up and down the UK. Up and down the UK, I'm having the same issues. I'm hearing of the same issues of clubs like ours, where you hear of, there's so much Asian talent out there. But yes, I have no doubt there's Asian talent, but the attitude of some of these kids is just wrong. And I'm not sure what the answer is to combating it. And I'm hoping I get answers from you guys tonight.
Do you feel, right? So as I said, I'm predominantly from South London, right? And I've only been around coaches and players of white and black. So only until when I went to Punjab in Gravesend, which Gravesend having one of the biggest Indian communities, I did see a few players like Lits will probably know, like Cayman, who plays for Punjab, and Aaron Suman, Diljit. There's a few other boys as well. So obviously you guys have been involved in the area which is more predominantly Asian. Do you feel that some of the players look at you thinking, okay, do you think they respect you as a coach because you're Asian? They feel like you've got almost more knowledge than the white coach? Or I feel like sometimes parents as well, they feel, they'll rather have the white coach their kids. I've seen it I'm doing an example more from a black community where they'll give more ratings to the white coach opposed to the black coach who's got the equal amount of experience and knowledge, and even and level. So have you come across where you've got players thinking, you know what,
Yeah,
I want to go to an Asian club?
exactly what you just said, right? Talented footballers of Asian descent, whether they're Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian. I've heard them physically, verbally. I've heard them say it in a training session. What the effing hell is he doing? I can see it's a perfectly good session. Now that session, if it was done, for example, in Anwar's time by Steve Clark or by Anwar, that session would have been. It's not much different to what I saw them doing. And that session, they're engaged, they're listening. But the minute someone with a brown face is running that session and isn't white, all of a sudden there seems to be a problem with that session, and all of a sudden that player seems to know. He seems to become a pro licensed coach, and he thinks he can. He's so much better than, let's say, for example, Arash. And that's the reality. I've seen it. I've heard it, and I've kind of become. Initially, I used to get quite upset about it. I'm thinking, but now I'm at the stage where if I hear stuff like that, I make a note of it, and I've lost players as a result of it. I won't have any of that stuff.
Do you think? Going back to that question, do you think it's the lack of knowledge, obviously, from like the parents and the players, of the background of the coaches, where they don't really know what day to day they're doing and so on? Obviously, they think it's a brown face and thinking, oh, what do you know? You've probably not played it and so on. But they actually don't know the background of where you're coming from and what you're doing and what kind of knowledge you've got and so on, and how you can help them develop. I think they take that for granted, where they think, okay, he's Asian or whatever, and he don't really know about football, he don't understand about football and so on, and he's just doing a session for the sake of it. Because what I experienced or what I've seen is a lot of parents will look at a session and think, oh, why are they doing this, and why is this and why is that? Because they don't understand what the coaches is doing the session for and what's his thought process behind it. It could look as a mess, but there's so much things that the players are getting out of it. But I feel like some coaches or some players want session that looks good. So the parents that are looking over think like, yeah, that's a great session. They're doing this, they're doing that, but actually they're not learning anything. Where a session could be absolutely chaos, but they're getting so much information or so much decision making to be made, and they're learning so much off there. So I think parents look over and think, are we doing a session for them or the players? They want everything to look pristine. They think like this is what they probably do at the first team and so on. So that then they'll probably respect you, thinking you're doing a good job and whatnot. So I think
academy football is the worst for that. So this is the thing, right? So when I first stepped in, right, a lot of people don't realise that when it comes to academy football, a lot of the age groups are training at the same time. So our foundation phase, we've got 9s, 10s, 11s and 12s training, and it's quarter of a astro, right? Yeah. You're sharing footballs, you're sharing cones, etc. And I think at the start, not when I was in the academy, even when I was doing the PDCs, etc. at Watford, and I was relatively young, except I wasn't really pushing myself thinking, yeah, you know what, I want to try and make a career out of this. And the first thing I would always think is, what his parents are going to think? And then afterwards, I thought, you know what, you've got to stick to your principles, your philosophy, know that what you're trying to get and ignore them. And if they do come over, just justify your session plans on what you're trying to do, and that fact that you're not just trying to build one individual, you're trying to build a whole team, etc. And I think, like many, I'm a person where, for me, I'm all about the holistic coaching, where I rather develop that person than the footballer, because you can have, as it comes down to when you said you've got all the ability. So when I was at Welling, I learned a lot from a guy called Danny Wakeling, right? And he had a thing called the 3A, and I'm adopting it. It's attitude, application, and ability. Now, you can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't apply yourself and have the right attitude, right, you're not going to get anywhere, whether it's football or life. But we've had players where, you know what, they're okay, you know, a bit rough diamond, they work around the edges in terms of ability, but their application and attitude is world class. And I found that when you get rid of those, the big timers, I say, in the non-league, and they cause a bit of a rift, you could tell they're a bit of a bad egg. Just the environment and whole almost ambience of the dressing room just changes just like that. But attitude-wise with players, it's an interesting one. Like, how do you, and as you said, like Imz is in the 3 points game, and obviously whereas me and Lits are in the development, but sometimes then like Lits at the moment can go into the 3 points when he's with Punjab. How, if you was in that, if you're looking at trying to change players' developments, etc., or what attitude, but you're I wouldn't say pressure, or you don't know about Sporting Bengal, you've got that pressure, that how do you implement on, okay, I want to still win the game, develop the team, but develop that player personally? Would you work on that guy? Would you give it time, or?
Yeah, from my perspective, that's one of my, I see my role as being as quite an important social role as well. Because we get kids from all sorts of backgrounds. And like I say, my focus is where we see a talented young kid. And I'm at the stage now, I'm not bothered whether they're black, Asian, wherever they are, but ultimately, if they come to us and they have some form of ability and they have a social issue, or they have some kind of problem going on at home, it's important that I'm there for them. And we kind of broke it down. So we have the coach role in terms of the technical side of things and how we develop this player moving forward. Prime example being Lits knows, and we've got two. At the moment, we've identified two kids, Adil and Raul. They've been through the Sporting Bengal system in terms of they started playing. They were the first kids to be involved at Sporting Bengal when we started the academy at the age of 10. And they've come full circle in terms of they're now, both of them are involved in the first team. And between them, in the last season and a half, they're not even 18 yet. Both are still 17, going to be 18 soon. They've played close to 50 games between them in a season and a half. But it's how we develop them. They know they're not going to play every game, but that attitude, we're talking about training. They have to come training. Regardless, they have to come to every home game. Midweek away game, that's understandable. Unless they're going to play a game, we make adjustments for them. But it's identifying these kids early, and those that maybe not quite ready but are on the periphery of the first team, and then really working them. But then the main thing is that they have to want to apply themselves. They've got to want to give something back. I'm not going to give anything in my time anymore. I've learned this probably over the last 2 seasons. I will not give my time to an individual who's not willing to give their time back to us. And that's my rule now. It's as simple as that. I won't judge anyone based on one session. You've got to come to 2 or 3, get yourself to the games, come and be part of the team, come and be part of the setup, sit in the dressing room, watch. They might not enjoy what we're doing. And I get to know about them as well and see what their commitment levels are about. Like, the main thing is results, but I have to be real about where we're at. Non-league football like real, but from a club like us, to finish top half of the table is unbelievable. But the main objective as a club is, in the reality of it is that we don't get relegated. And that's the reality. For a club like us, with limited resources, that's the reality. So once I know that the club isn't going to get relegated, for example, we've got 35 points. After that, it's really, for me, it's about giving those that possibly wouldn't get the opportunity, but then it's their opportunity then to showcase what they got.
I think the biggest thing for me is when I come to meet players and so on, is their attitude to learn. Whether it be men's football or young football, whatever it is, their attitude. Like, we go by non-negotiables in terms of, like, say, a match day. Emotional control is massive because there's so many egos in the team. Emotional control for us is a massive. Hard work is massive. The desire to learn in terms of, if like Im said about Adil and Raul, for them to come back after a session and say, Imrul, what do you think I could work on, and how do you think that shows that they care about their development? So in terms of players like that, I would love to help, because then you can set up like all the players at West Ham, from first team all the way probably to under 9. Everyone's got an individual development plan, so it's all player led. So why it's player led is because they care and they want to do it. So we'll sit down with players and come up with challenges and targets and so on, season and long runs. But it's the players that care will come back to you after every session and say, what do you think I've done? What do you think I could do better? Am I meeting my challenges or my targets? Or they might even come over to you and before the session and said, listen, my challenge for today is trying to overlap and cross 6-7 balls with my left foot or right foot and so on. So I might make a few mistakes, but that is what I'm looking to do, and you'll understand it, and you'll probably help them because you understand that they want to learn and so on. So they've got an incentive, they've got a challenge, the individual challenge for a session. Obviously you're going to have your own team challenges, but they've got their own challenge. That shows that they want to learn. So for me, that's massive. Players taking the initiatives to learn.
I get that. I'm going to ask this question for Abd actually, because you've seen this, you've probably seen it in your previous time at Sporting Bengal, because I know you did a coaching role with Mams there as well. You saw it on that. But one of the big, that's great. I love players like that. But in my experience over the last 4 or 5 seasons, is that the players that are the ones who are asking these questions, turning up training every week. It's usually those players that this is the dilemma I'm in. And I want to know what you guys would do in this instance if you're in my position. They're usually the players within the non-league setup that possibly are not as talented as maybe most of the ones that are playing in the first team or playing higher. And they're the ones that are in training before messaging you, what can I do to improve my game? This is what I want to work on. This is what they're sending me messages to. I've got 4 or 5 of them players who during the week, they're doing their own thing. They're sending me videos. They're asking me messages after every training session. They're hanging around. They want to know what I can work on, what we're going to do the week after. But they're not quite ready. Yeah. But, and in my experience, these players, by the time they've come to me, we're usually their last club of the season. So there's a trend. So players at non-league level, the ones that Lits have just mentioned, are usually the young journeymen. And I feel what's happening to these, they lose the love for the game because they keep on turned away. I'd love to say the attitude of some of these kids is unbelievable. You'd love to keep them all and say, right, okay, we're going to work with you. But unfortunately, we don't have the time. What would you do in that instance? What do you do with these kids that they're still young? They're 19, 20, 21.
You know what? I think it comes back to, right, the player's ability and understanding the level. Now, some players generally feel like step 5, it's still quite difficult. And obviously it's going to vary in terms of quality across the countries. But I think the players just need to accept and understand how hard it is to be playing at a certain level. And it's how you do it. I'm not saying sugarcoat it, etc. But there has to be a sense of realism in there. So if you have got that player, I'd say it's fantastic. The fact that they're showing that initiative of they want to learn, they want to develop, etc. Then if I was in that position, I'd be like, okay, cool. He's probably had his confidence knocked various times through previous teams, not settling, etc. Then what I personally would do is I'm like, okay, you're not quite level, you're not quite ready at step 5. Let me go contact coaches that I know from step 6, see if they can take you on loan. Because one thing is you could say, okay, cool, we'll send you on loan, but you've got to send him on loan to someone that you trust, look after him, develop him, almost get a progress. And if they do well, then sort of filter them back in. Because the last thing I'd say is you would want to do it is getting a kid who's like, you know what, I love this guy's attitude. He's showing all the commitment, getting he's meeting all my standards in terms of my non-negotiables, etc. Like, okay, you know what, you deserve a chance. And a lot of people would like to be given opportunities through merit, right? So, okay, cool, he's got his opportunity. And as you said, there's certain players, and I've come across it as well, call them training players. They smash it training. They look unbelievable. They look world beaters. But as soon as they step on that grass on a Saturday, it's completely changed. So when you do give them that opportunity, and then that's, I think, where non-league football, like non-league coaches and non-league managers are almost working like pros, because once they do that and they have a stink of a game, psychologically, boom, they're gone. And you've got to try fix that. So like I said, there's so much variables and strains in how you go about and do it. But me personally, with those guys, I think it's good to know you have to give an honest assessment, right? Honest assessment with them boys, okay. So what I'd say is just mash him up against, like, compare him with your other number 10, see where he is, what trades he's got, and then, okay, cool, go, you need to work on this, this, and this, and just send him out to a loan to even step 7, right? Step 6, step 7, see how they do, and then hopefully that will give him also a realisation of where he is with his level of football. So that's my opinion.
I'll second that, to be fair, loan and monitoring him and so on. Going back to what the questions are, how to address lack of Asian players and so on. What are the factors, I think? I'll go first. I don't mind. It might sound a bit controversial, but I mean, there's a lot of factors to it. What I've seen and experienced, I think Asian players like to play amongst themselves, if I'm honest. I think there's a lot of gatekeepers in the communities in terms of holding players back for their own benefit and achievement. Instead of signposting players to teams where they can help develop players and so on. And I think the lack of coaches or parents that understand the elite level. I don't think a lot of Asian players understand the game. Technically, they might be like gifted, but I don't think tactically they understand coaches or managers' way of playing and so on. So they just turn up and just play, but they don't have a thought process behind it or understand how to play as a unit or a team and so on. So I think the lack of understanding is massive, but that can come again from not enough coaches in the environment or whoever understands the game and so on. I think that could be a massive factor as well. And just keeping it brief so you guys can have a little what you think.
I'll butt in there on top of what Lit says. I agree totally. I think gatekeepers are massive, holding for the bet, because in speaking for East London, the Sunday League and the local Asian football scene is so rife, meaning everything is the be all and end all. The rivalry is second, it has been for the last 20, 30 years. So we're a victim of our own success, if you like. When everybody thinks grassroots football is dying and there's no 11-a-side players, if anything, in Asian football in East London, it's massive. But like I say, you've got postcode wars going on between different football clubs and affiliations, and because at the end of the season, it's so easy to go and play for a club and win a nice trophy, and have a nice award ceremony, a nice meal. That's more important than it is to go and spend time and trying to get into the Sporting Bengal team. And unfortunately, that's the reality of it. And no one wants to work hard. If you're a half-decent player, you're going to get into a club that's going to win the league at it and win probably 2-3 cups in a year. What's more appealing? The going on a cold Saturday, playing midweek, and spending hours maybe sitting on a bench or only getting 30 minutes, or getting your butt kicked on a Saturday, or playing on a Sunday, looking amazing, getting kits, getting tracksuits. That is one of the biggest issues. And then at the end of the season, getting a massive trophy. I think community football, we are the victims of our own success, and we are our own biggest problems in that not just parents, but kids and the footballers themselves, and gateholder. I love that word, gatekeeper. Let's use it. That is the word, gatekeepers. They're holding people back. They're the ones. They're holding our kids back.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And we could discuss this for hours, and all these initiatives, right, with the FA trying to get Asians more in football. Sometimes I'm just holding my hands in my head and thinking, because we're too quick to say, no, this white man's not doing this, that, but we need to get our own house checked first. 100%. We need to get that in order first. Like you said, we're the enemies of our own good sometimes, and until we sort that, we're not going to move forward. Because at the moment,
Abs and Lits, right? Abs and Lits, you guys have been involved. How do you stop it? Lits, for example, right? You've got the BFA, ILFL. There's loads of teams between the two leagues. There's probably 50 teams here in East London, in Tower Hamlets. You're telling me, like, let's say on average, 50% of them, there's Asians playing, there's 10 kids of Asian background playing in every team, times 50. That's 500 kids, Asian kids playing football. You're telling me you can't find kids. What's the solution? You tell me what the solution is.
I think everyone needs to get together and think about what is the end product that you're looking for. So if everyone wants to see an Asian player progressing and so on, everyone has to get together, and we need to signpost players for their own development.
All right, you signpost players.
Yeah.
But to where? To who?
That's what I'm saying. So the lack of networking from Asian coaches or chairmen or managers or whatever they are from their club, that's the biggest option, because they don't come outside their own network to go and network with other people in the game. This is the biggest problem. So they ain't got no one to refer back to, and they can't signpost players because of the lack of their knowledge in the game, or the lack of networking in the outer communities and the outer leagues and so on. I think that's the biggest issue. Abs, anything?
I had this discussion with Litz about a year ago regarding, can we get the best Asian players in East London to compete in the Gothia Cup, right? And straight away he was like, bro, that's not going to work, because there's too many selfish coaches out there that are only looking out for their own personal gain. So I think one of the issues is, right, and I think it's a lot of communities as well, so that they've got this really talented young Asian player, right? And they don't want to let him go because they want to keep and hold and use him as almost like the poster boy for the club, right? And as I said, if you're in the game for player development, you'll push them on. So, for example, if I was, let's say I was in your position and there was a young 20, 21-year-old, right, Asian player, and a step 3 and step 4 team comes in for him. Now, I know for a fact, right, that there are going to be a lot of coaches like, no, we're not going to sell him because he's our best player and we need him to push us on, rather than thinking, okay, this kid's actually come to me at the start of the season, look, bro, I want to get to the top. I want to be the best player I can. What are you going to do to help me? Now, for me personally, for me, it will be seen as a compliment as that another team's come on, because I'll think, you know what, I've done the best I can to develop you, go on to another level. And as you said, if these sort of gatekeepers are not coming out, changing their way of thinking, we're not going to move forward, man. We're really not going to move forward.
Yeah, and listen, I'm of the same school of thought. I've had a couple of kids in one of them, I rave about him, and you can even ask Anwar. You're working down at our shop with him. I've been begging Anwar to have a look at him. Let's you know who he is, whether you've seen him play or not, I'm not sure. But Ashan Siddiq, he went to Bangladesh. I've been fighting his cause. Bangladesh. I've been speaking to Jamie Day regularly. We're really trying to get him. I don't want him at Sporting Bengal. If I'm very honest, he's way too good. But the problem is, he's not getting he spent all the last 2-3 seasons. He doesn't come to me. He goes to step 4, step 3 clubs, and they love him. But for some reason, come the beginning of the season, they let him go. He wants to train. He has a brilliant attitude in terms of learning the game, the love for the game. He'll play every minute of the day that God sends if he's not injured. He never gets injured. This kid in 4 seasons with me has played close to 200 games for Sporting Bengal. I can say I don't want him. He's there regardless, week in, week out. He went to Bangladesh on a trial. They loved him out there, but he didn't suit Bangladesh. He came back. They're still contacting me, that club and the agents are still contacting. Can we get him back? I'm desperate for him to play higher. He left our club this season. Bottom line was for the reasons that Lit touched on, because our training, we weren't able to train with enough first team players, and he got frustrated that I come training every week and half the first team isn't here. And I got that, and I told her, he gave me an extra. He didn't want to stay with us this season, but I managed to keep him for half the season until he left the back end of the season. And I've never stopped him. My argument with Ashan and anyone else who's good at my club is, if you're going to leave for a club that's playing higher, or leave for a club that's going to be challenging for our league. And my 2 best players left for that exact reason. They left to a club that was playing in our league, but a club that was challenging for the league. But that's my argument. I'm not going to stop a player from progressing, because that's what we want to do. And like Abs has just said, for me, I take it as a compliment. If a player has gone to play higher and he's gone through our club, for me, that I see that as a massive plus. And I want to be able to signpost players for bigger clubs, but unfortunately, at the moment, and the reality is, even when you've got a kid who's willing to put the work in, put the graft in, and isn't being given that opportunity, isn't. So what do you do? And then you've got opportunities like yourself at Aldershot and Anwar at Aldershot. Now, there's an opportunity for you guys to look at these clubs, these players that are playing at step 5, maybe step 4. That's, I think, personally, I think it's a responsibility. It's as coaches, as managers at these clubs, it's our responsibility. Not just a token gesture, it's our responsibility to at least give these kids, try them out. Not for 1 week, not for one session, try them out for 6 weeks. See what they're like and give him that opportunity. So, and I throw that question back to you guys, especially you have now an opportunity. Anwar, you have an opportunity to take the likes of Hashan and see what they're about. Because trust me, they will flourish. The higher this kid goes, the better he will be.
I think when it comes down to that, so it's in terms of, so how I'll see that question is, how are we going to get more Asians through the game? And the way I see it is, we need more Asian coaches. I mean, not just coaches, people from Asian ethnicity in football that want to progress in football in good, high decision-making positions. Like, for example, right, Litz has been at West Ham for over 15 years. He's worked through the YPD, and foundation phase, etc. Now, his opinion is still going to be heard and valued, but it's going to have more weight if he's a PDB phase lead or YDB phase lead or head of coaching. Once we've got people in those positions, that's when we're going to see progress. Because the thing is, so I'm really contemplating whether I still want to do my coaching, but I'm really looking at the Titan idea, because I'm thinking, okay, cool. So I'm predominantly South London, right? From my perspective, I don't think there's many Millwall coaches that are going to East London, because they're looking at the talent from the Lambeth and Southwark area, etc. So how many of those coaches are going out to East London and looking at those players? There's not many like that. Now, if I was to go out there, I'm not just going to pick a player just for the sake because he's Asian. They have to meet the academy standard and requirement. So I think until we've got people that are in those positions, right, it's not gonna really move. But I know that, and I pray that it doesn't happen, that those people that I do get up there all of a sudden forget about their roots and why they've gone there, and like you said, become gatekeepers. That's one thing you've just got to make sure. If you do become, and inshallah, if I do get there, I'll remain humble and gracious as ever, that I don't become a gatekeeper and forget that, you know what, I was in here to try and help other Asians progress forward, etc.
Do you think though, understand, like, going back to Emeralds and say Ashan and so on, they're good players and so on, but when it comes to like taking to different team, and a typical example be Aldershot. I know the manager quite well because he was at West Ham actually. Do you think the players that we're forwarding will fit into the system that they play? So Ashan could probably be technically the best player there, but he don't fit in to the playing philosophy of like Danny Sale and Anwar. So that could be the biggest problem.
My response to that would be, I think this is where I think you have to trust, in terms of, if there's a relationship, for example, between me and Abs, or me and you Litz, or me and Anwar, or whoever, this is where you have to trust me. But I'm telling you about a kid who hasn't played 5 games for Sporting Bengal at Step 5. He's played close to 200 games, and now has gone to another club at the same league, challenging, and is a first-team player, and has made an impact in this team, where he's gone there, where the running form, he's gone in there, and they've won 15 out of 15 games. And he's started every game. And this is not just an Asian manager. This is now, you've got a white manager, a white team raving about him. When is he going to get the opportunity? And he can play in your positions.
Yeah. What I mean is, I've seen a bit of Ashan, and I understand, and I get the drift of what kind of player he is. But when it goes to, like, say, Aldershot and what, like, some managers might have, forget the midfield, we're going to launch it to the front man. Ashan's more a technical player. You want to go for him because he can unlock doors. He's like a Coutinho, who unlock doors for players. Do you understand? But would he fit into them kind of team where he's not really going to get a lot of the ball? Do you know what I mean? They're going to override it.
The other thing is, I also feel he can play in a variety of positions. For him to be given the opportunity, is there an opportunity for him to maybe rethink his game and maybe go and play? Because he would be able, for me, to play a fullback position. He could play wide. You could alter his game and work with him, so somehow you get him that opportunity because he's intelligent enough and good enough for him to adapt.
He needs that opportunity first and foremost. And as you know, obviously, number one, he definitely needs the exposure. He needs the opportunity to go and apply his trade. The other thing is, as you know, because it's a 3 points game, would managers take the risk and bringing him in and invest their time? Do you understand? Where their job's on the line, they don't really have time to develop players now. This is the biggest issue, I think, when it comes to, like, senior football and so on. So in terms, like you said, Imrul, Ashan, he can play right back and he can play any other position, but it's going to take him maybe a handful of training session or matches to understand the roles and responsibility of that position. Is the manager willing to take that time out and say, yes, he's going to be making mistakes, but I'm going to stand by him and I'm going to give him the opportunity to play and so on. I think that's the biggest factor when it comes to stuff like that.
Then comes the other argument. What about at least exposing these guys to these levels of training and that level of competition? Because he's used to playing step 5, step 4 maybe, and going to train with, and it's easy for him. Why not at least give him that exposure to say, right, okay, this is it. You've got 8 weeks. Now, in that time, if it doesn't work for you, you'll know, we'll know. Because that's 8 weeks for a senior player is enough time for you to have proven for the manager to see you and the coaches to see what you're about in terms of every aspect, from your attitude to your technical ability to you as an individual. That's enough time. And at least he then will have been exposed to that level of competition and that level of training. So if anything, it's a learning curve for him.
100%. But is he willing to sacrifice that time and effort? Because he might get 5 minutes, or he might not get nothing for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Do you know what I mean? That's the biggest issue as well, I think, with a lot of Asian players.
I agree. Not just Asian players. It's, for me, I call them the Twitter generation. You know what I mean? I in non-league, Abs, you probably see it, Lex, you see it all the time. If you go on Twitter during the season, how many times do you see so-called Sunday League superstars and playing for their YouTube channels, free agent football or question mark after every game? They might have been subbed or might have been benched one game, and next thing there's a tweet coming out. You know, non-league tweets are becoming, they're ridiculous. You know, and the number of players jumping because the manager said something or subbed him or not started him, it's a joke.
That's the biggest. I think that's the biggest issue, and it's the ego of players. They don't want to take any negative criticism, or they want to be starting every single game, but they don't understand every game is a different game. So the manager might have different tactical game plans where this player won't fit in, so he needs to stay on the bench and so on. And I don't think a lot of players understand that. But like you said, they need that opportunity. They need that stepping stone. They need to get exposed in them kind of environments to see what kind of players they are. Typical example be like when he went Bangladesh, the team wants him, but he don't want it. Do you understand? So
with the environment.
Exactly. So the environment is difficult for him to adjust, and it'd be anyone going to a different environment, especially going from England to somewhere where like the training facility is probably not up to scratch in terms of living and social life. It's going to be totally different, missing your family. So it's going to be a difficult process. That's the thing, is the sacrifice that they have to make if they really want to make.
Do you know what I kind of get? I'm at the stage now, for the last maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years I've been talking about this. But all right, you two now, you've talked about it, you're still talking about it, you're involved in different forums, you're working at pro clubs, you're working at very good non-league clubs. What are the solutions for this? In terms of genuinely, what are the solutions and what can be done to change it? Because that's what we want. We want change, and stop talking. I'm tired of talking. What can we do to make change happen? You guys now are in a position where you can do that. And I think this is where I think you guys have a massive role to play. You've got to take the bull by the horns. You're still relatively young in terms of the football game, right? You've got to take the bull by the horn and you have to market yourself. Social media, you don't need gatekeepers anymore. I'm going to be very frank. This is my opinion. We, the community, friends, family, we can market you. We can get that word out. We don't need someone else's permission to do something like the idea what Abs has just said. My advice to you guys is don't sit back, just do it. Because you might fail, it might not be as good as you expected, but over a period of time, it will only improve. But we need solutions. For me, this is what I find is a lot of talk. We need solutions, man. I don't know what solutions are. Some of the ideas I've heard today are brilliant. I love that Gothia Cup idea. I know Litz is doing his own coaching school. I sent my own son to him because I think if we don't use these coaches like Litz and Abs and Arosh, then we're fools. We're stupid. You know, just because someone's white, it doesn't make them any better from you guys. So
I think that's the biggest thing is your own people believing in you is the foremost, the biggest issue. And I think developing players and giving them the good habits from a younger age group, so they then get into that mentality where they think they're the best player on the team and so on. What are we looking for? Are we looking for performance or are we looking at potential? Do you know what I mean? Because you can go over the park and you see a lot of players that will take the whole team on and score 50 goals and they're the best players. But are we really looking for them kind of players or are we looking at potential? I think getting players to understand good habits from a younger age is massive.
Nail on the head.
Yeah, it's massive. In terms of development, I don't think we should. Obviously, this is me putting a West Ham hat on. Is we're not pigeonholing players. So you are a striker and you're going to be playing striker. Where actually he might have different attributes. Like you said, Sadiq Ashan can play right back, left back, and so on. So it's very important that we expose them to different positions so they understand the roles and responsibilities of them kind of position. And I think the biggest issue for me. And the experience I've seen is I don't think a lot of the players understand the game in terms of tactical stuff, in terms of formation or in terms of playing philosophy. Do you understand? Because everyone thinks they're technically good and they can go and fulfill the roles, but actually there's a lot more to just playing a midfielder or playing a striker and so on. How do you actually support players off the ball? If you think about it, a typical example could be the top player will touch the ball for 3 minutes of a 90-minute game. So what are you doing 87 minutes? So this is the thing that I think our players need to understand is how they can affect the game off the ball. Because technically you can be good, you can be poor, but you still can get through it. Because you're not going to be touching the ball for more than 3-4 minutes. So how do you understand the game and how you can affect the game off the ball is massive, I think. And that's where they need to understand a bit more. That makes sense.
And I agree with that. And if you're going to start, I think you got to look at the younger generation. So you're looking at the ones that are like stepping into, obviously you don't go into tactical at 7-8, but those that are getting into football or been playing football at 7 to 10, 11, now you're starting looking at the tactical side, 12, 13. That's when you got to start planting them seeds because, as you said, there's so much more to football than just a step over and a 5-yard pass. It's, okay, what's the information on that pass, etc. Like you said, what are you doing in possession, out of possession, right? Like there's so much into the game that people are sort of neglecting and think ability or like just your physical ability alone is going to get you through. Not at all, man. You've got to have a footballing brain. And going back to your point, Imz, in regards to when it comes to any football league, so especially conference, right? That because if you've been following it, everyone's beating everyone. So, for example, Ebbs Fleet, they didn't get a result for about 15 games, and all of a sudden they're picking up and they're beating teams like your Yeovils, etc. And because there's 4 teams that are getting relegated, every point is crucial. So, in regards to a player, as a manager, and this is why recruitment's so big. As a manager, you can't just rely on your gems. Like, don't get me wrong, I still personally believe there are step 5, step 6 players that will 100% be able to play in that conference, but you can't flood them with that. So you need maybe players from League 2, your journeyman, your player that's from step 2 or in that league, etc. And as Lit's alluded to, do they fit the playing philosophy? So at the moment, all the shots play in a 4-4-2. So speaking of Anwar, he's adopted like the Simeone, sit back and try to play on the counter. But your argument might be, and if I had a player like that, he's adaptable, right? He wants to learn. Teach him 8 weeks, just see what he can do. But is 8 like can you take that risk of 8 weeks, etc.? It's a difficult one, man. It is a real. I understand your point because there are loads of players like that. Even myself, I've got a few players I want to fight for them. Think that what they could do it, but because so many clubs, especially clubs if they've been stuck at a league for about 7, 8, 10 years, and chairman's on their case saying you need to get promoted, or at least fight for promotion. Then I'm like, okay, cool, right? I've got to spend my budget and go out and recruit players wisely. So it's like I said, I'd say still unanswered in terms of what you're asking for, but I do definitely believe that more players need that exposure. They need that exposure to step 1, step 2 level of football.
Okay, so going back to that point around, bear with me a second, let me just put my light on. I can't see that shit. So going back to your point around, that Gothia Cup. I think there's a solution. This is just me thinking out loud right now. Now, with the likes of you, Lits, Taff, Arosh, and there's some amazing coaches out there who are doing some brilliant work at pro clubs and with the FA. Surely you guys can create something between the 4 or 5 of you and work amongst yourselves. Like I say, I'm going to keep using the word because I love it. I think the word that Lits uses is brilliant. I'm going to use it to nick that off him. The gatekeepers. I think they are a problem. They are a problem. I agree 100%. And I've been quite vocal about it. I've come to East London and I've tried to change it, but it hasn't worked. It's like I just about did it and then it all changed. But I'll say it, I've got no issues with it. I agree 100%. There's too many gatekeepers, but you guys have the opportunity. You don't need these gatekeepers anymore because times have evolved. These gatekeepers are still 10 years behind in terms of where social media is. You have an opportunity now to create your own identity, to create, for the want of a better word, an elite team of Asian coaches to work with an elite level of whatever age group, or even create something for elite Asian footballers. Now, how you identify these Asian footballers, that's up to you guys, because you know about the ID, you know how to do it. Whether it's you start in London, you start small, and you might do 4 age groups or 1 senior. I don't know how you do it, but that's up for you guys. But you genuinely, this is me, my hand on my heart, telling you guys you have a responsibility. And I think don't wait. The opportunity, because otherwise in 10 years' time, we're going to be having the same conversation. 10 years ago, we didn't have the Abs, we didn't have the Lits, we didn't have the TAF. Now we do. You're at least you've got that. Quite frankly speaking, talking about being in the boardrooms, the black community is talking about that now, and they're 30 years ahead of us. They're no longer talking about footballers, they're talking about management, they're talking about board level. So we still haven't broken the barrier of footballers in the game. So we need to deal with that issue right now. And I think you guys are the solution. I'm looking at 2 of them. And you have to take the bull by the horn and say, right, we're going to do it. And then put it out there and see what the response is like. I am 100% sure and confident that the response will be unbelievable. And you will get the support.
I think we need more people like you that understand it. I think we need the exposure as well of all the people. So like yourself, Abs, Taff, we've got Aros, and there's more people. I think we need the exposure in the communities, Bangladesh, Pakistani, Indian, whatever it is, that there are coaches from these kind of backgrounds in the elite game or who want to make a difference. And we need everyone to buy into that. Parents, players, and clubs to buy into it. And I think if they do buy into it, that's the only way forward. and then we can help players. There's individual players everywhere that want the help. Like I personally mentor a few Asian players, but you need more players, parents buying into it. You've got the coaches, you need other personnel that can help out and so on. So I think the exposure is first, and then everyone understanding it and buying into what we're trying to do. So like you said, if we can get the core set of players that we can take over to the Gothia Cup and all over the place, that we have clubs coming over from all over the world want to play. So this could be a showcase game. Like my background when I go abroad, like Imrul, you know, I've travelled so many continents every pre-season and so on, and meet so many clubs and so on, and they're always looking for players and so on. So that could be another exposure where we say, listen, we're working with a core elite set of players, and these are a few players that we can recommend you and so on. So again, giving them that pathway or exposure into different environments and different kind of levels of football. So I think the biggest thing for me is people buying into it and exposure, getting it out there.
What are your thoughts, Abs?
No, totally agree. It's about exposure and getting people to buy into it. And if I was to go do it and follow up on it, I wouldn't be targeting these gatekeepers. It's initially who you trying to attract. It's the players, right? And they can make the decision for themselves. If they're not old enough, it will be their parents. And once you've got their parents' trust, I'm pretty confident they will support people like myself and Litz and Taff than the gatekeepers thinking who's been there for 10 years and almost brainwashed them that, you know what, this is a better opportunity for my son to go on and, you know, go really push on with his footballing aspirations, etc. So, and I feel we're all unique in different ways. Like everyone's got their own sort of style, personality, and it's all about being viable. And the best word I could say is trust. Like as a coach, as a parent, would they be able to trust their son with us, not just developing them, but just to look after them, etc. Like some of these players has probably never ever stepped out of this country. So will they be? And that's more of a cultural thing as well, I think. So would they be able to trust a group of coaches that don't really understand the culture and whatnot, and take them out for a week or so to go play football? So I think that's I think one of the biggest advantage we can have as coaches, that we come from a religion and background where we've been involved in these situations where we can go out and, you know what, your like you said, your son's going to be in good hands on to go out and go play their football. So
I think that will come when they, obviously, first of all, we're going to bypass these gatekeepers, but for the players to know that there is something like that out there is, first of all, we need the exposure. And in terms of like families understanding, are their children safe with us? I think once they understand and they see what we're doing and so on, that trust will build automatically. So they will have that faith in us and so on. But I think the biggest thing is the exposure and getting these players to think that there is an option for them, not just going back to their clubs and just thinking that this is all they can aspire to, when there is help for them out there. And the likes of, like Emil says, you, me, and Taff, and all our networks that we should try and get the word out there and maybe start planning for stuff like that.
The reality is, look, when we're talking, you guys know more than anything else. I remember when I was at Bengal working with the kids and the academies and whatnot, I built up a lot of links. And the main thing that parents want to see is a pathway. Like the reality is, if a parent's going to be spending money and a parent's going to be spending time and giving their time as well as their children's time, they want something. They want to see a benefit. They want to see a vision from you and also for their kid. So you need to have that in place, and you need to say, right, these are the networks we have, and be frank with the people that are coming to you. At the end of the day, if I'm a user, if I'm an end user, if I'm a parent, if I'm a player, I want to know, what value have you got not just as a coach, but where am I going to go from here? What doors can you open for me? And that's the important thing. You have to just show, and like I say, it's the proof's in the pudding at the end of the day. We can talk. Everyone can talk all day. Yeah. But until you actually start doing and showing results, and that's not going to happen overnight, it might take anywhere from 6 months to a year before you start seeing anything, the fruits of your labor, if you like. That's what you guys need to start doing. And I think for me, it's really, if anything comes of any of this in the next year, I'd love to see something like an elite Asian football team, that a team of coaches, management, coaching, whatever, and you guys working with a group of youngsters, even if it's just one age group, just to show that it can be done, even if it's like under 14s or under 12s, just to show that there is something tangible. You work with them for 1 year, and at the end of the year, even if you can say like 4 of these 20 kids have been moved on to bigger and better, to a pro club or to a good non-league club that is going to work on them. For me, that's results. That's something tangible, and you progress from there. But it has to start. It has to start. Talking has to stop, and actions need to happen.
Definitely. I think we need to. Everyone has to get together and come up with a strategy on how we can get all these players in the same room at the same time. So whether it be players from, like, we're trying to target players from all over the country, I guess. But it's just trying to get them in the same room at the same time is going to probably be the most difficult bit. But then again, it has to be done, I think.
Yeah, I think the main thing is you have to be realistic about it as well. Yeah. If all the coaches are based in London, is it feasible for you guys away from your 9-to-5 jobs or your other things? Can you be giving time to go up north? So I think the reality for me is I'd want you to be realistic. If I'm a parent, going back to parent again, how much time can you give to my kids, or how much time can you give to this group of child? If you're going to be, I want your time. I don't want this to be it's lit. It's like, for me, if I'm a parent, I'm always looking at it from a parent's perspective. Mm-hmm. Anything I do is like, especially when it comes to coaching, it's about parents. It's about the kid that you're working with. I wouldn't want my child to be going to, let's say, a so-called elite training academy, and then when I go there, I turn up. I signed up because of TAF, because of Lits, because of Abs, not for a level 2 coach. Yeah, that's the reality of it.
100%.
You have to give. For me, that's really, really important. You're the product. You're what people are going to buy into, not some random level 2 coach from West Ham Foundation.
No. Exactly. So, like, we have to. That's our duty to fulfill the roles that we're promising people and selling whatever.
But otherwise, you're no different to all these other so-called gatekeepers, because that's what they've done over the years. They promised the world, delivered nothing.
No, that's exactly it. Definitely. That's something we need to think about and take action on.
Just my thoughts, guys. But I think that's, for me, I think you guys have to. There's untapped talent in you guys, and I think you guys
also going through, like, obviously the players, but also something to do with coaches as well.
Definitely.
Because at the end of the day, we won't be able to be in the same venue at the same time. So we need to upskill coaches and give them the knowledge as well, so they can obviously get the players to do good habits and so on. So I think that's a massive thing for us as well, in terms of getting the coaches upskilled and helping them through it as well, mentoring and so on. The young players, think about the good habits. Come up with a few good habits and believe in your good habits. Also, be a student of the game. Read about it. Listen to podcasts from previous players, coaches, managers. Listen to interviews. Read about it, like I said, and watch games. Don't just watch your favourite team. Watch other team. Watch non-league. If you can go and watch a live non-league game, watch it. Don't just always focus on where the ball is. Focus on players that off the ball. What are they doing different to what you do, and vice versa, and so on. So I think that will be my few words.
I think my advice for echoing Litz, there is being a student of the game, whether you're a coach or player. So an example I always give to my players is that you've got to put more hours on the training field that you will put on for a game. So, for example, I always use like an Olympic sprinter. So a sprinter will be training for 4 years for 10 seconds, for less than 10 seconds. Now, you've got to see how many hours they are putting for less than 10 seconds work, and some of them don't even make the final. And that just shows how much graft you've got to put in. And in terms of coaches, I'll just say, go out there and just coach. Because I was one of those where I was always asking, could I come and watch? Can I come and shadow? But I found it more productive where I was actually going out and coaching myself and putting the miles onto the grass, because then not only are you putting the hours on, but you're sort of messing up, because no one's a perfect coach. I've had loads of car crashes of sessions, but if I didn't have those car crashes of sessions, it wouldn't make me a better coach now, because initially you've got to reflect on them, on why it went so badly. So for me, I'd say is just
I have
go
them
out there
all
the time, exactly, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of who's watching you, as long as you believe in yourself and that you believe that you're doing it for the best of other people. Whatever your aspiration is, the reason why you're in coaching, just make sure you believe in it and don't let people try to, hinder your talent, your ability, and try to brainwash you, etc. So, as self-belief, man, self-belief is a massive one for me. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Again, I think from my perspective, from a player's point of view, as a manager of a club that's plays in Step 5 football, I think what I want to see from our players, from Asian footballers, is I think change of attitude for one, has that just being able to maybe test yourself at a different level. Go away, get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid of change. But application is all important. It's the be all and end all. It's not always about talent. I think you've got to have that desire, and you've got to want to work more than your white or your black counterpart. That's the reality of it. And earn your stripes, if you like. Earn that right to play in, even if it's Sporting Bengal. Earn your right to be part of this club, and have respect for those that are trying to better your club and also trying to better you as an individual. And more, the biggest word for me is trust. For me to trust you, I need some trust back in return, and really just open up and be adaptable. For me, it's really, really important. And just be honest. Honest to yourself, and let's not be deluded. Playing Sunday League football and coming to play on a Saturday, they're two different things. So if you're going to ask for my opinion, be prepared for an honest opinion. And that there would be my final word, I think.